There's no food?
I'll cook later.
Linda.
I'm home.
Linda, you didn't clean the house?
I'll do it later.
So, you didn't cook either?
I wasn't really in the mood.
There's nothing here. Why is there no electricity?
Maybe Nipa took it.
Linda, I sent you the electricity bill money 3 weeks ago.
I forgot.
You forgot to clean, you forgot to cook, you forgot the electricity bill. I don't know how long I can bear this your laziness.
What if I told you that the darkness in my sitting room that night was not caused by NEPA, but by my own hands? My name is Linda. I am the woman my neighbors whispered about, the woman my own mother warned, the woman who laughed at every warning because I was too sure that love would cover all my sins. I was wrong. So wrong that it cost me my marriage. That evening, Michael walked into the house looking like a man who had carried the whole bank on his shoulders. His tie was loose, his eyes were red from staring at computer screens since 7 a.m., and his stomach was empty. He flicked the switch by the door. Nothing happened. He tried again, still nothing. "Linda," he called out, his voice flat and tired. "Why is there no light?" I was lying on the bed, phone in hand, scrolling through a wedding video on Instagram, half paying attention. "Maybe NEPA took it," I said, not even lifting my head. He walked into the bedroom holding his phone, the torchlight from it cutting across my face. "I sent you the money for PHCN 3 weeks ago, Linda. 3 weeks. Where did the money go?" My chest tightened. I had forgotten again, just like I forgot the water bill in March, just like I forgot to pick up his dry cleaning in June, just like I forgot every single thing that made a house a home. I was going to pay it," I stammered, sitting up now. "You were going to," he repeated slowly, like the words tasted bitter in his mouth. He didn't shout, he didn't throw anything. He just stood there in the doorway, the torchlight shaking slightly in his hand, and looked at me the way you look at a stranger. That look, I will never forget that look for as long as I live. It wasn't anger, it was something worse. It was the look of a man who had finally stopped hoping. He turned, walked to the kitchen in the dark, and I heard him open the fridge, searching for something, anything to eat after a 14-hour day. There was nothing. I hadn't cooked. I hadn't even remembered that he existed until his key turned in the door. I sat on the edge of the bed in the darkness, my heart pounding, and for the first time in 4 years of marriage, a cold fear crept into my chest. A fear I had refused to feel every single time someone warned me. Because deep down, some part of me already knew this was not just about light. It was about a man reaching the end of a very long, very quiet road. If you have ever taken someone's love for granted and only realized it when it was almost too late, don't scroll past this. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what happened next will teach you something about love, respect, and consequences that you will never forget. Let me take you back. 4 years earlier, when Michael proposed to me under the string lights at Freedom Park in Lagos, I was a different woman. I had a job as a customer service officer at a telecoms company. I had ambition. I had fire in my eyes. Michael was already a rising star at the bank, a young manager with a good head on his shoulders, and a heart soft enough to fall in love with a girl like me who had nothing but big dreams and an even bigger laugh. "Linda," he told me the night he proposed, "I don't need a rich wife. I need a partner. Someone who will build with me, not just enjoy with me." I cried that night. I meant every I do I said in front of our pastor and 200 guests at our wedding in Ikeja. I meant it when I promised to love him in good times and bad. But somewhere along the line, comfort became a slow poison. 6 months into the marriage, I quit my job. I want to start my own online clothing business, I told Michael one Sunday afternoon after church. I don't want to be answering angry customers on the phone for the rest of my life. I want to build something for myself, for us. Michael, ever the supportive husband, agreed. He gave me capital, 250,000 naira to start. He helped me open an Instagram page. He even took pictures of me modeling the first batch of clothes I ordered from Aba. But the business never grew past that first batch. Because instead of sorting new stock, I was sleeping till 11 a.m. Instead of replying to customer inquiries, I was watching Yoruba movies and Turkish dramas until 2 a.m. Instead of managing the money Michael gave me, I was buying wigs, ordering food from Bolt, and telling myself, tomorrow I will start serious. Tomorrow never came. My best friend Cynthia used to visit and find the house looking like a hurricane had passed through it. Plates piled in the sink, clothes scattered on the chair, dust settling on the television like a soft grey blanket. Linda, she said one afternoon, sitting carefully on the only clean spot on the couch, this life you are living is not sustainable. Michael will not carry this house alone. I hissed, long and loud, the way only a Nigerian woman convinced of her own invincibility can hiss. Cynthia, please, my husband loves me too much to leave. He will always take care of everything. That is what a real man does. She looked at me with something between pity and worry. Love is not the problem, Linda. Respect is. A relationship is not survival of the fittest. It is partnership. You cannot keep taking and giving nothing back. I laughed her off. I actually laughed. The kind of laugh that comes from a place of foolish confidence. Little did I know that the same words she spoke that day would come back to haunt me word for word, months later, when I was sitting alone in an empty house with nothing but silence for company.
My mother, Regina, was the next to warn me. And unlike Cynthia, my mother did not sugarcoat anything. She came to visit us on a Saturday morning, the kind of unannounced visit only an African mother can pull off. She met me in a wrapper, hair uncombed, sitting in front of the television watching a movie at 10 a.m., while dirty pot sat soaking in the kitchen sink from 2 nights before. She dropped her bag slowly on the dining table, looked around the house, and I saw her jaw tighten. Linda, she said, her voice low but sharp like a blade being sharpened on stone. Where is Michael? He went to work, Mommy, Saturday banking. And you are here watching film since morning? Have you cooked? Has this house been swept today? I rolled my eyes, something I never dared to do as a child, but had somehow picked up as an adult who felt untouchable. Mommy, please, I will do it later. I'm tired. Tired from what? She snapped, and for the first time that morning, her voice rose. Tired from sleeping? Linda, I did not raise you to disgrace yourself like this. A marriage is not a hotel where somebody serves you and expects nothing in return. Your husband works from morning till night. He comes back to meet you exactly how he left you, doing nothing. This life you are living will not end well. I am telling you now as your mother. Something in her voice that day should have shaken me awake. But pride is a strange thing. It blinds you exactly when your eyes need to be most open. Mommy, you don't understand my marriage, I said, standing up now, my voice defensive. Michael and I are fine. He has never complained. He loves me the way I am. My mother stared at me for a long moment, shaking her head slowly, the way you shake your head at a child who is about to touch fire despite every warning. Michael has not complained because he is patient, not because he is satisfied. A patient man is not a foolish man, Linda. One day, patience finishes. And when it finishes in a man like Michael, who never raises his voice, who never throws tantrums, that is the most dangerous kind of ending. Because he will not fight you. He will simply leave. Her word hung in the air like smoke that refused to clear. I didn't respond. I just watched her pack her bag and leave that same afternoon. Disappointed, her lips pressed into a thin line of worry. That night, when Michael came back from work, he met me still in the same wrapper, hair still uncombed, the pots still unwashed. He looked around the sitting room slowly, then at me, and for a moment I saw something flicker across his face. Not anger, but a heavy, quiet exhaustion that seemed to sit on him like a weight he had been carrying for a very long time. He didn't complain. He simply walked into the kitchen, tied an apron around his waist, and began preparing dinner himself. The sound of the knife against the chopping board was the only sound in that silent house, each chop echoing louder than any accusation could have. And I sat there on the couch, phone in hand, and did absolutely nothing. Not because I did not see him suffering, but because somewhere in my selfish heart, I believed he would always be there to catch what I refused to hold.
Weeks turned into months, and the pattern never changed. Michael, ever the patient man, tried again and again. One evening he came home with a printed pamphlet from a counseling center in Lekki. "Linda, I found a marriage counselor," he said gently, sliding the paper across the dining table to me. "Pastor Ben recommended her. Maybe we should talk to someone, not because we're failing, but because I think we both need help navigating this season." I stared at the paper, my pride pricking immediately like a needle. "Counseling? Michael, are you telling people our business? Is that why you want us going to meet a stranger?" "It's not about telling people, Linda. It's about fixing this before it breaks completely." His eyes were pleading, his voice soft. I refused. 2 weeks later, he brought it up again, softer this time, almost begging. I refused again. Then there was the business. Michael, despite everything, still believed in me. One Sunday afternoon after church, he sat me down with his laptop open. "Linda, let's restructure the clothing business properly," he said. "I've drafted a business plan. We can set up proper Instagram ads, get a small shop space in Yaba, even hire someone to help with logistics while you focus on sourcing and sales." For a moment, hope flickered in me. I nodded eagerly, promising him this time would be different. He transferred another 150,000 naira the following week. I spent 60,000 on stock. The rest disappeared into hair, makeup, and a birthday party I threw for myself that I told him was for networking purposes. The business folded within 2 months again. My cousin Tracy, who had always been close to me, visited around this time and found me crying on the bed, phone in hand, staring at unpaid customer refund requests I didn't know how to handle. "Linda," she said, sitting beside me and rubbing my back gently, "you need to sit up. This your husband is not an ATM machine. He is a human being with feelings, with limits. I have watched you take his love for granted for years now, and I'm scared for you." "Tracy, please," I sniffed, wiping my tears. "Michael will never leave me. He loves me too much." Tracy shook her head slowly, the same way my mother had, the same way Cynthia had. "Linda, love is not obligation. A man can love you and still walk away, because love without respect becomes exhausting. You keep testing how far this man's patience can stretch, and one day I promise you it will snap, and when it does, there will be no warning shot. He will just be gone." I didn't listen. Of course I didn't listen. I was too comfortable in the illusion that Michael's love was bottomless, that no matter how many times I failed, he would always pick up the pieces. That night, as I lay beside Michael in bed, I noticed something I had ignored for weeks. He no longer reached for my hand in his sleep the way he used to. He no longer whispered, "Good night, my love," before closing his eyes. He simply turned his back to me and slept in silence. I told myself it was just tiredness from work. I was wrong. It was the beginning of the end, and I was too blind, too comfortable, too foolish to see it coming. The morning after the darkness, after the light had gone off because of the bill I forgot to pay, I woke up to an empty side of the bed. At first, I assumed Michael had gone to work early, as he sometimes did. I stretched, yawned, and reached for my phone out of habit. But something felt different. The house was too quiet, too still, like it was holding its breath. I walked into the sitting room and froze. His shoes were gone from the shoe rack. His traveling bag, The one he used whenever he went for official trips was missing from the top of the wardrobe. I ran into the bedroom, my heart hammering now, and threw open his side of the closet. Empty. Every single shirt, every trouser, every shoe gone. My hands began to shake. "Michael?" I called out, my voice cracking, echoing through a house that suddenly felt too big and too hollow. "Michael!" Nothing answered but silence. Then I saw it. A folded piece of paper sitting on the dining table, held down by his wedding ring. My legs nearly gave way beneath me as I walked toward it. I picked up the ring first, cold and heavy in my palm, and then unfolded the letter with trembling fingers. "Linda, I never wanted a perfect wife. I only wanted a partner. I kept waiting for the woman you promised you would become. I waited 4 years. I gave you chances, capital, patience, and love. But last night, sitting in the dark because a bill I paid for was never settled, I realized something. I have been alone in this marriage for a long time. Not because you left, but because you were never truly present. I need time. I need to think. Please don't call me yet." I read it once, twice, 3 times. My knees buckled and I sank to the floor right there in the sitting room. The letter clutched to my chest and I screamed. A raw, guttural scream that came from somewhere deep inside me, somewhere I had buried under years of denial and pride. I called his phone. Straight to voicemail. I called again, voicemail. I sent messages that turned from panic to pleading to desperate apology, each one delivered but left unread. I called Cynthia, sobbing so hard she could barely understand my words. When I finally managed to explain, there was a long, heavy silence on the phone before she spoke. "Cynthia," she said softly, "I warned you. Your mother warned you. Tracy warned you. We all saw this coming, and I am not saying this to hurt you, but because I love you, you did this to yourself." Her words cut deeper than anything Michael's letter had said, because I knew with a sickening certainty that she was right. I sat in that empty house for hours, the sunlight moving slowly across the floor, the silence pressing on my chest like a physical weight. Every unwashed plate in the sink, every unpaid bill I had ignored, every night I had chosen a phone screen over my husband's tired eyes. It all replayed in my mind like a cruel movie I could not switch off. For the first time in 4 years of marriage, I understood something my pride had refused to let me see. Love is not a guarantee. It is a gift that requires care, and I had let mine rot in careless hands. Weeks passed. Michael did not come back, and he barely responded to my messages beyond short, distant replies confirming he was fine and needed space. He had moved in temporarily with his elder brother Wilson in Surulere. My family found out, of course. News like that does not stay hidden for long in an African family. My mother came over, not to scold me this time, but simply to sit with me in the wreckage of what I had built with my own 2 careless hands. "Linda," she said one evening, holding my hand, her voice gentler than I had ever heard it, "I am not here to say I told you so. I am here because you are my daughter, and I want to see you rise from this. But first, you must stop crying for him to come back and start becoming a woman worth coming back to." Her words struck something deep in me. That night, after she left, I sat alone in the dark, the same darkness that had started this whole nightmare, and I made a decision that would change everything. I would not beg Michael. I would not chase him. Instead, I would rebuild myself, brick by brick, whether he came back or not. The next morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. for the first time in years. I cleaned the entire house until it shone, scrubbing away not just the dust, but the shame that had settled over every corner of that home. I made a budget, something I had never bothered to do in 4 years of marriage. I wrote down every debt, every unpaid bill, and slowly, painfully, began settling them with the little savings I had left. Then I turned to the clothing business Michael believed in more than I ever had. I called Tracy, swallowing my pride completely. I need help, I told her honestly. I don't know how to run a business properly. Please teach me. Tracy, surprised but happy to see this change, spent weekends teaching me about sourcing, pricing, customer service, and social media marketing. I woke up at 5 a.m. some mornings to reply to customer messages before they even opened their eyes. I stopped watching movies. I stopped sleeping till noon. I started treating my business and my home like something worth fighting for. 3 months in, my Instagram page began to grow. Orders started coming in, not from charity, but because I was finally showing up day after day with consistency I had never shown before. Cynthia visited one afternoon and stood in the doorway, stunned into silence at the transformation. The house was spotless. I was dressed, hair done, laptop open on the dining table with a spreadsheet of orders and expenses. "Cynthia," she said slowly, "who did this to you?" I smiled, a tired but genuine smile. "Nobody did this to me, Cynthia. Michael's absence did this for me. It showed me the woman I could have been all along if only I had listened." But even as my life began to change, one truth sat heavy on my heart every single night. Michael still hadn't come home, and I had no idea if he ever would. 6 months after Michael left, I had transformed the small Instagram page into a registered business with a proper name, Linda's Wardrobe, and a small shop space in Yaba, exactly where Michael had once suggested we set up before I destroyed the opportunity with my own laziness. I paid my own bills now. I woke up early, slept early, and for the first time, I felt genuine pride in myself. Not because of what any man provided, but because of what I had built with my own 2 hands after everything fell apart. Word got back to Michael, of course, through his brother Wilson and through mutual friends at church. I heard he had started asking quiet questions about how I was doing, though he never reached out directly. Then one Sunday, after service at our church in Lekki, I saw him, standing by his car in the parking lot, dressed sharply, looking healthier than I remembered, though his eyes carried a guarded distance I had never seen before. My heart raced. I walked over slowly. "Michael." "Michael." His voice was calm, careful, like a man choosing his words the way you choose steps across a bridge you are not sure will hold your weight. "I've changed, Michael," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "I know you've heard, but I want you to see it for yourself. I'm not the same woman who let this house fall apart while you carried everything alone." He studied me for a long moment, and I saw something soften in his eyes, though his voice remained guarded. "Linda, I'm happy for you, genuinely, but understand something. I'm not coming back because you've changed for 3 months or even 6 months. I watched you promise change for 4 years and nothing stuck. This time, I need to see it, not just hear about it. I need time." His words stung, but for the first time, I understood them completely because I deserved every bit of caution he carried. "Take all the time you need, Michael," I told him, surprising even myself with how calm I sounded. "I'm not doing this to win you back, Michael. I'm doing this because I finally understand what you tried to teach me for 4 years, that love without responsibility is empty. Whether you come back or not, I will not go back to being that woman again." He nodded slowly, something like respect flickering in his tired eyes, and we parted ways that afternoon without promises, without tears, just an understanding that healing, real healing, takes time and cannot be rushed by desperation. Over the following months, Michael began reaching out occasionally, first about practical matters, then slowly, cautiously about my business, about my day, about small things that gradually rebuilt a bridge between us, plank by careful plank. He started visiting the shop in Yaba, quietly watching me interact with customers, checking inventory, closing sales calls with confidence he had never seen me before. He never announced these visits as tests, but I knew deep down that he was watching, waiting, hoping the woman standing before him was real and not another temporary performance. It was almost a year after the night the lights went off in our marriage when Michael finally sat across from me at a small restaurant in Victoria Island, the same restaurant where he had proposed 5 years earlier. "Linda," he said, his voice steady, his eyes searching mine with a seriousness that made my chest tighten. "I've watched you for almost a year now. Not because I doubted you deserved a second chance, but because I needed to know if the woman I fell in love with had truly returned, or if this was just another season that would fade once I came back." My hands trembled slightly around my water glass. "And what have you seen, Michael?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded printout, a screenshot of my business page, now boasting thousands of followers and hundreds of 5-star reviews. "I've seen a woman who wakes up before the sun, who pays her own bills, who built something out of nothing after everything fell apart. I've seen my wife become the partner I always knew she could be." Tears blurred my vision, but I held them back, wanting to hear every word clearly. "I'm not coming back because I miss the comfort of having someone in my bed, Linda. I'm coming back because I've watched you become someone I am proud to call my wife. Not because you had to, but because you chose to, even when I wasn't there to see it, even when there was no guarantee I would return." That evening, under the same string lights at Freedom Park where he had once proposed, Michael took my hand and asked me a question that felt heavier and more meaningful than the first time he had asked it. "Linda, will you build a real partnership with me? Not a marriage where one person carries everything while the other watches from the couch, but one where we rise and fall together as equals?" Through tears streaming freely now, I nodded. "Yes, Michael. This time I promise you a partner, not just a wife who waits to be rescued." We moved back in together 3 weeks later, but this time things were different. I still ran my business, growing it steadily with Michael's occasional advice, but mostly on my own strength. I managed the home, not out of fear of losing him, but out of genuine respect for the life we were building together. Bills were paid on time, sometimes by me, sometimes by him, because that is what true partnership looks like. Looking back now, I understand that Michael walking away wasn't the end of my story. It was the exact moment my real story began. Every warning I ignored, every relative I laughed off, every quiet suggestion Michael made that I brushed aside, they were never my enemies. They were mirrors, showing me a truth I was too comfortable to see. Justice, I learned, doesn't always come as punishment. Sometimes it comes as consequence, forcing you to become the person you are always capable of being. If this story touched something in you, if you've